Hey there, welcome back to my channel, LeeBeeBuilds, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Aaliyah and I like to play The Sims. Today's video is another build using cottage living. I used a lot more packs in this one than I did in my previous ones. Particularly my English cottage I think was just base game and cottage living. This one, I made it a very cottage living looking house, but I used a lot of other packs. I didn't hold myself back. I was just excited to kind of build and keep with that style, but also use all the packs that I've paid good money on. I think this is a little more work than I intended to do for this build. I wanted to do a small little cottage, and I was like, a small cottage will be done quick and easy, and I did. The cottage is quite small, but for some reason I decided to build on the 50 by 40 lot. So that meant that this small little cottage ended up coming with a lot of landscaping. And you'll see a little bit later on that this landscaping turns into a waterfall. It's definitely not the best waterfall I've seen someone make, like in The Sims. I've seen much better uses with like the tool mod. I don't use that mod. I probably should, but I honestly just haven't cared to learn it quite yet. I tried learning it once and it wasn't working for me, but I'll leave that for other simmers. So I did make a waterfall on this lot. You'll see it a little later on. I build it using the spa day like water features and rocks, and I used Snowy Escape like hot tub, outdoor pond hot tub thing, whatever it's called, sauna thing. I don't know what onsen, that's the word. So I used that as well, and you'll see it later on. It's kind of an interesting thing, but I think it turns out really, really good in the end when I add some arches from Romantic Garden. And you know what, I have to say, Romantic Garden that's a pack that I think is underrated. I had heard that it was a bad pack even, but I really, really like it. It has amazing items and greenery, and like obviously for garden, but also the statues are gorgeous. It works perfect for this mystic style build that I was going for, and like for this little witch sim. So this little house I think turned out really cute. I used a lot of angles. As you can see, the house is like the entrance is on an angle, so from the start like everything is very much like on an angle. The house is not a perfect square by any means. It is completely open on the main floor, so there's no bedroom. It's like a studio style cottage, and I think that just goes with the like style of like cottage I wanted. Is it literally just being like a cozy space for like a single sim. And so yeah, you walk in, you have a table on the left, and then you've got the kitchen in front of you, and then there's a seating area and a fireplace kind of on the left side at the front. And then in the back corner, there's the raised platform bedroom. And then there's a ladder up in the like bedroom area that goes upstairs towards another little seating area with another fireplace with some other items such as like the embroidery or cross stitching, and there's a bathroom up there as well. And so this house, I do not know if it's functional, but it has all the items to make it a functional place. I also had in mind that maybe a cat would live here with the Sims, so there is some cat items inside the house with like a scratching post, a litter box, and like a food bowl and all that fun stuff. So this here is the waterfall that I'm talking about. As you can see, I placed down those spa day water features, and I'm putting rocks kind of around it to hide the feature of it. The Snowy Escape rocks were very important in this because they are very straight up and down, and so they worked really well for hiding the sides of the water feature. And then you'll see in a minute I will take the Snowy Escape onsen piece, like the actual bath, and I use it as like the pond up top because I couldn't get the pond tool to go high enough because there's apparently a limit to how high you can do it in this game. Apparently I learned that, so I ended up using that piece instead, which ended up working out really well because then I'm able to fit up a cauldron space on a raised terrain, and I think it looks like it looks really cool. It's like, feels very like a ceremonial, like witch brewing cauldron space. I really do enjoy it. But I think what really finished it off is these romantic garden arches. Without those, it would not look complete. It would look kind of funky even. So I really love those arches. I think that they finish off the space so perfectly. And so yeah, let me know what you think about this waterfall. I know I've seen better waterfalls that people have made in The Sims. I've seen far better, but I think I did a pretty okay job at doing what I could without the tool mod. So yes, like I said, up top here, there's gonna be like a little cauldron space, and so I put those two rocks that kind of angle in like that, and I thought it was like a really cool ceremonial kind of spot for that. And then as for the rest of the build, there's a lot of landscaping that goes around. It's really just like heavily landscaped. It's not, I wouldn't say it would be a perfect landscape with like perfect gardens or anything. It's more like overgrown, more foresty. What I had in mind is that this witch that lives here, maybe she's a little bit hidden and people don't really know that she lives there, and so that all this greenery is kind of like really thick around the edge. I can't really work with the outside of the lot, but I imagine that the greenery around would have been really thick and heavy, and then all of a sudden, bam, there's a cottage there and like a waterfall, and it's like really pretty and inviting. But I kind of like, you don't have to go with this story, but I had a little bit more sinister of a story when I was building this. So I haven't built it yet in terms of what you've seen, but there is going to be a little graveyard off to the side in front of the waterfall, just across the water. And my idea, I also put like an easel there, and so my idea is that this witch, she's evil, and she takes Sims, brings them there, she paints them, and then she makes them feel like they're pretty and amazing. She's like, wow, you're a perfect subject for my art, absolutely perfect. And then she turns them into sculptures because they're just so perfect to her. And then they end up staying in that little, to her it's probably more of a garden than a graveyard, but it is a graveyard. I put some gravestones there, and then there's 3 of the statues from like Romantic Garden. And while that is a little bit more of a sinister story, I think that having this place look very inviting and cute is kind of interesting, because that is maybe a front for her. She has this cute little cottage, but then when you actually like get to know her, maybe she's not so nice. But obviously, if you download this from the gallery, you can play with it any way that works for you. You can do anything you want. I just thought it was a cute little story. If you download this, it could also be that maybe someone's inherited their family's cottage that has been in their generation, and then that graveyard is their family graveyard, and they've moved here, and they've started off with just them in the small little one Sim-sized cottage. That's another story that you could go with, but that's just not the one that I kind of had in mind when I was building this. I just thought it was so inviting with the pretty waterfalls, the pretty trees and the flowers. Like the swans are here. Like now I'm thinking like a whole Swan Lake type thing. Like maybe she turns some of the Sims into swans to stay in her pond. Like, I don't know. I just think it's kind of a cool story. I don't know how it would be played out in the actual game, but I think it's kind of fun. Or evil, I should say. But I hope you kind of enjoyed that little story that I came up with. I don't always come up with stories for my builds. I kind of just build and go for it, but when I do, it's kind of fun to share it and be like, hey, this is what I thought of. It's kind of cool, right? Kind of funny, kind of spooky. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that little story. And this is the graveyard that I was talking about here, so that I imagine that she had them pose in there, and then she turned them into statues so that they would stay like that perfect position forever. And then I imagine that maybe some of her experiments don't go so well, and that might be why there's gravestones. That, or she does remember those Sims that she's turned into paintings or swans and she's made gravestones for them. Maybe she's a little bit of heart to her. I have to say that the debug for Cottage Living is very, very, very well done. If you haven't checked out debug for Cottage Living, you need to now. That is bb.show hidden objects and bb.show live edit objects, and then you just type debug into the search bar and click on the top one. You can filter by Cottage Living. The debug in it is really, really well done. I wish all those plants that we got were in the actual game, because there's so many. Like, look at this gorgeous willow tree, and then there's just so many like bushes and plants, like all of that stuff here that I'm placing, that's all the debug from Cottage Living. Some of the other plants I've put around, like the trees, I think those ones were from cats and dogs, but I used as much Cottage Living landscaping as I could because I love it. Particularly the grasses, and the like bunches of like grass that kind of go at a wide space. It just helps make a place look far more overgrown, and that's what I wanted for this. If it wasn't for the thumbnail on the gallery, I probably would have put trees all along the front of the house. I didn't, just because I wanted it to look a little bit nicer on the gallery thumbnail, but otherwise I definitely would have lined it with trees all the way around, like 360, so that it would give that vibe that it's like hidden and not easy to see from the exterior. But you know, you gotta vibe with the gallery. We don't get to choose our own thumbnails, so gotta do what it says to try to get a good picture. But yeah, also it's ridiculous that at this point we still don't have the ability to make our own thumbnails for the gallery, but maybe one day. Maybe one day. I feel like that's something they could give us. I don't know in what capacity, but I think it would be so amazing to have that. Because there's so many times, like there's so many lots that are just like, couldn't you have put the picture taking spot anywhere else, or like not put this tree in the world? Like, didn't you test this sort of thing? That happens so many times in this game. It's ridiculous, but yeah. Let me know how you're enjoying Cottage Living as well. I personally really enjoyed what I've done with it so far. The build items are adorable and just so fairy tale. That's really why I wanted to do a more witchy style thing. My whole plan for this build was really to do a Cottage Living and Realm of Magic build, but that didn't really pan out. I kind of just included whatever pack I wanted. But like the door I used on this house is just so like, it feels so fairy tale, and I just love it. And so yeah, I don't know, I just love it. Love it. And then on this side here, I put like a flower garden. I don't know, I just thought it was kind of something unique, just to have like a huge field of flowers to have instead of just more perfect landscaping. I thought it would just kind of be fun to have like a wildflower space. But yeah, I had a little bit of fun with this landscaping. It's a little different than what I normally do, because I tried to keep it like a little more random. It's kind of a weird word to use, but I think random is what I would go for. Now we're on the inside of the build here, and I absolutely still adore the wallpapers. I can't stop using them. It's hilarious, but like I said before, this is completely open plan house. So this bedroom is like a part of the living space, and I have like the double bed, so you could have two Sims here. I do end up pushing it up against the wall, so I don't know if there's still that glitch where your Sims can't slide across the bed. I know like some people it worked for them, other people didn't, but it depends on whether or not it works for you, is how many Sims you can have in this house, I suppose. The new Cottage Living furniture is so cute. Like that dresser with the mirror, I'm gonna struggle to not use that because it's just so cute. And I used a mix of a bunch of different items from other packs. I used some Laundry Day Paranormal. I used even some Dream Home Decorator. The mushrooms from this new pack, Cottage Living, is just so cute. I could not use it, you know? I just love it. And I use the Realm of Magic paintings. I love them a lot in general. I feel like their frames are a little much for some of the builds I use them in, but I just love the actual pictures, because you know how people have those like Pinterest style photos that are like the butterfly collection, the plant collection, and it's like that style. Like I just see that so much in just like people's apartments and rooms and houses, that like I try to use I use those paintings a lot when I build in The Sims, because they remind me of that vibe. Even though the frame is maybe not exactly what I had intended, but I think it still works. Especially in this build, it definitely works, but I'm just saying in other builds. The kitchen, I went for red. I thought it was a little spicy. Like, you know, matching the wallpaper is not normally something I would do like that, like matching it in this way, having so much color, but I thought it'd be kind of fun. Like I said, this house is very inviting and cute, so like you could do the cuter story that I said, but you could also do the more sinister story and be like, maybe it's inviting, but there's actually something a little more suspicious going on this lot. You never know, you never know. But I just think the items are so cute. I also used a little bit of country kitchen kit in here as well, because those items obviously go super well with cottage living. They made, like, it's almost like they were like, we really want to add these items to cottage living, but we don't have the space, so we're gonna make kits a thing. That's kind of what it feels like, not gonna lie. Like, it just seems like they just couldn't fit those build items into the cottage living pack, so they were like, let's make a kit. Let's make kits a thing. That's kind of... Does that make sense? It feels like it makes sense. But yeah, like I said, I also did make this with the intention of like a cat living here as well. Like, I don't know, witches and cats just somehow vibe. So I did that, and I have like a little cat tower. I did make sure that all of it was on the first floor, because the only way upstairs is a ladder. But you've got the litter, you got the bowl, and you've got the cat tower. I didn't put a cat bed in here, however, because there was just a lot going on in terms of the layout, but you could always add one in and maybe get rid of a chair or something. And then, like I said, up here there is like a little seating area beside a fireplace. I figured that it was a good way to cover up the fact that that fire chimney is like kind of coming into the room. But yeah, so that is the end of this build. There will be some screenshots at the end, so make sure you stick around, take a look at those, and let me know what you think about this build. Are you enjoying cottage living and the builds that I'm bringing you? Let me know. If you are, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. So bye bye everyone.